Dublin might be the most beautiful and vibrant city I've ever filmed, but it's also the first place in years where I never let my phone leave my pocket almost. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to see, what it really costs, what mistakes to avoid, and why this city deserves your caution as much as your wonder. We left Belfast before the city was fully awake, bags packed, and 2.5 hours later we were stepping into the story of Dublin. 2 air coach tickets booked online, €34, and the ride from Grand Central Station to O'Connell Street was comfortable, easy, no drama. One quiet rule worth knowing before you travel: if you're in Northern Ireland on a UK visa, you cannot legally cross into the Republic without a valid Irish visa. It's the kind of thing nobody mentions, and it could end a trip before it starts. As the skyline grew closer, I felt that mix of excitement and nerves you get when a place is both famous and unknown, and I knew the day ahead was going to test both. Our base was the Arlington Hotel, right in the center, €150 a night for 2. After dropping our bags, we stepped straight onto O'Connell Street, and this is Dublin in all its loud layered glory: buses, trams, and hop-on hop-off tours. Statues of the people who shaped Ireland's history, the gleaming 120 meters spire rising above everything, and opposite it the General Post Office, the very building at the heart of the country's fight for independence. But here's where my guard went up. A week before we arrived, our Cypriot friends had their phones stolen in broad daylight on these very streets. I'd love to tell you that was bad luck. Instead, I'll tell you what I told myself. Keep your phone in your hand tightly or your pocket, and keep your bag closed and in front of you. Dublin's beauty is real, and so is its pickpocket problem. We crossed the river over O'Connell Bridge and wandered toward our first real stop, Trinity College. On the way, you pass the old Parliament House, now the Bank of Ireland, and then you step through the gates of one of Europe's most beautiful campuses. Nearly 500 years of history, alumni like Oscar Wilde, and architecture that jumps from Georgian elegance to neo-Gothic and Victorian drama. But what struck me most wasn't the buildings, it was how alive it all still is. Kiosks, cafes, and quiet green corners where students actually nap on the benches between lectures. And of course, the crown jewel, the Book of Kells, a manuscript created by Celtic monks around 800 AD, sitting in the university's long room. I genuinely felt like I'd stepped into an old film, and I'm not sure a camera can ever capture that feeling. If you only visit one campus in Ireland, this is the one. This is where Dublin excels. Right behind the campus sits the National Gallery, one street further the National Library and National Museum. 3 cultural treasures you can tick off in a single morning. But the real calm comes at St. Stephen's Green, a peaceful park with fairy tale views and shaded benches, with the Little Museum of Dublin tucked right across from it. From the square, we drifted into Grafton Street, Dublin's most famous shopping street, full of quality stores, souvenir shops, and side streets with colorful umbrellas and restaurants from every corner of the world. On one side, flower stalls. On the other, street musicians, and for a while, you almost forget the warning in the back of your mind. Almost. But here's the thing about Dublin that nobody puts on the postcards. Let me be honest with you. Is Dublin safe? On a beautiful day, in the busy streets? Mostly yes. But there are moments that will test you. Throughout the day, I kept seeing people in crisis, some asking for money, others clearly struggling with addiction. At one point, I watched a man with blood running from his mouth, arguing with 2 others at a bus stop, and it was obvious all 3 were in the grip of something far beyond a bad day. This isn't a horror story, it's the reality of a major European capital, and it was enough to keep me aware the whole time we walked. Now, I'm not here to judge a city or its people, and I met plenty of warm, friendly locals. But I've personally seen how quickly beauty can turn to unease here, and I want you to be ready for it. Stay aware, stay in the busier streets, and trust that feeling when something's off. By lunchtime we were hungry, So to save time, we grabbed a quick meal at KFC on the street, 27 euros for two. Then we kept moving and reached the little square by St. Andrew's Church, where a crowd had gathered around the statue of Molly Malone, the legendary fishmonger girl who sold mussels and oysters from a wheelbarrow and died far too young. Next to it, the Welcome to Dublin sign, a photo spot every tourist needs. Then we wandered into Drury Street, the creative quarter, where people were eating street food right on the pavement, and that's when the day turned into something more than sightseeing. We made our way to George's Street Arcade, Ireland's first purpose-built shopping center and one of Europe's oldest indoor markets. And I'll be honest, I could have happily lost a whole afternoon in there, rummaging through clothes and health stalls, watching locals haggle in two languages. It's the kind of place that feels like the real Dublin, not the one on the postcards. From there we walked along Dame Street and came to City Hall, right beside the castle complex, which, unfortunately, it was closed to the public to host Ireland's EU presidency events, so we couldn't go in. A note for you, check the castle's opening times before you visit, because closures happen. At the end of the street, Christ Church Cathedral greeted us, and I knew it was old, but I wasn't prepared for how it actually felt standing in front of it. Built by the Viking king Sihtric around 1030, the oldest surviving building in Dublin, and somehow that weight settles into your chest in a way no photo can ever prepare you for. A short walk away stands St. Patrick's Cathedral, over 800 years old and the largest church in Ireland. Its garden full of people sunbathing and reading on the grass. And just behind it, Marsh's Library, Ireland's oldest public library, with its famous cage reading areas built to stop people stealing the books. History on this street is everywhere you look, and somehow it all feels personal. Then we hit the area everyone talks about, Temple Bar, the most famous district in the city, home to over 24 pubs on a single street and packed all day long inside and out, with people photographing the famous red facade. And right here, I have to be blunt. If there's one spot in Dublin where a snatch and grab is most likely, it's this one, because everyone is distracted taking photos and nobody sees the hands that aren't. Keep your phone in your front pocket here, and your bag where you can feel it. After a long day, we treated ourselves to the best ice cream I've had in a long time at Cloud9, opposite the bar, 16 euros for two, and crossed back over the Halfpenny Bridge, Dublin's beautiful old cast iron crossing that once charged a halfpenny to pass. We checked into the hotel properly, rested for a couple of hours, then went back out for the Blue Hour. We passed through Merchant's Arch, a historic building and traditional Irish pub right by the Halfpenny Bridge, grabbed some groceries from Centra for our busy next day, and, because the July evening was cooler than we'd packed for, picked up some long-sleeved layers on Grafton Street. Then, starving, we sat down at Leo Burdock, Dublin's oldest fish and chip shop, and it was exactly the warm, crunchy, salty end to the day we needed, 37 euros for two. By then, the Temple Bar area was alive, and to close the night the proper Dublin way, we each had a pint of Guinness at the famous bar, 20 euros for two. And that first sip, in that crowd, under those lights, that's the Dublin the postcards are made of. Let's talk money, because this matters. For the two of us, our day in Dublin came to about 250 euros, including the hotel, 150 for the room, 27 at KFC, 16 for ice cream, 37 for fish and chips, and 20 for the Guinness. That's roughly 125 euros per person, and if you skip the hotel, our food, transport and drink for the day was about 50 euros each. And here's the honest part most guides skip. The cathedrals and parks are free to wander, and street food is everywhere, so the real number, if you just want to experience Dublin, is far lower than people fear. Here's my honest list of mistakes. Some mine, some just bad luck. I didn't pack for the cooler Irish evening and had to buy layers on the street, so trust the forecast, not the sunshine you left at home. And the castle was closed on the day we visited because of a private event. So always check opening times before you plan your walk around it. But the biggest lesson wasn't mine at all. Watching our friends lose a phone in broad daylight, a week before we arrived, completely rewired how we moved through this city. Hands out of pockets, bags always in front, eyes up. Plan for the best, but keep your guard up. That's the honest advice I'd give anyone heading to Dublin. So, after a full day, is Dublin worth visiting? Yes, without a doubt. And the honest reason is that it's both things at once. Beautiful and dangerous, warm and gritty, postcard perfect and real. If you go in with your eyes open, you'll see the city the locals live in, not just the one on the souvenirs. I'll be waiting for your likes and specific questions in the comments, and if you're planning a trip to Ireland, don't forget to subscribe for the next stop on our road trip. We're heading to Cork and Cobb next. Don't forget to like, comment and share this video, and subscribe to my channel.